So something you may not know is that our SI joints can get a little bit stuck. If we look at the anatomy, the SI joint, or the sacrum is much like the keystone of the pelvis. It's got this triangular shape and it is really important. It's super crucial when it comes to stability of the pelvis. And considering the fact that your pelvis is the center of mass or the center of your body, it's really crucial that we start all of our mechanics off correctly deep in the body here. So if we imagine the two halves of the pelvis are like big giant wagon wheels, they sort of do this dialing movement back and forth as we walk. So when I'm walking, I can't airwalk or mime, whatever that is, moonwalk, when our leg comes up forward in front of our body, the ball and socket moves. But the SI joint, this whole wagon wheel, this big bone here, also moves back in relation to a somewhat stationary sacrum, right? So it's natural for the hip joint and for this big pelvic bone to be moving together with a stable sacrum. Whenever you pick up this leg, this SI joint on one side needs to be nice and still so that this one can wind backwards and vice versa. If you're lifting up this leg off of the floor, this SI joint has to be nice and stable so that there isn't excessive movement happening on the stance side. So hopefully you're still with me with that explanation. If you have a healthcare worker or someone that has told you that your sacrum is a little bit stuck or your SI joint is a little bit off or a little bit stuck, it just could be that it's not moving the way that it should. So as I said before, there's naturally a little bit of movement in the sacrum when this big wagon wheel moves. We'd never ever really want it stuck in one position or another. And how does it get stuck? Well, the stabilizers, there are a lot of, I should back up by saying the stabilizers of the SI joint are many. We have a lot of muscles that cross over this joint. We have muscles from below. We have the pelvic floor. We have the glutes. We have a lot of little ligaments as well. I'm not going to get into, but we want to make sure that none of those stabilizers are really tight and tense so that the big pelvic bone gets stuck in the forward or back position and vice versa. As I said before, it has to be stable. One side has to be stable when the other side is moving, especially when we're walking. So it's a fine balance between strength to keep it together and flexibility, or a nice amount of lengthening to allow for the movements that have to occur. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to free up tight muscles surrounding the SI joint so that you can restore proper movement or get it unstuck if it's sitting in one position, okay? So hopefully, if you haven't seen a healthcare provider already, you've maybe seen somebody, but if you haven't, we're going to go through all the common muscles I see that get tight that can create SI joint issues. So for this video, if you have a massage ball, keep that handy. If you have a tennis ball, I also really like a wool dryer ball. So if you've got one of those, that's really great. It has to have a little bit of give. We don't want it super hard like a lacrosse ball. That might be too noxious. If you have a yoga stretching strap, or a somewhat like a medium or a strong strength resistance band, that's great. If you don't, just grab like a long bed sheet, like a flat sheet, and kind of like twist it up into a big strap. You can also use that as well. If you don't have a massage ball, I was also going to say, if you have like wool socks, like ball that up, and that could be a little makeshift massage ball as well. Okay, so we're gonna start off on our backs. And we're gonna start off with releasing the glute med muscle. And the glute med muscle is right up here. So here's my hip bone. It's just behind my hip bone in the back here. So we're gonna be on our sides. And you're going to be working through the side that's tender or problematic, okay? Or if you're not sure, you can try releasing both, because sometimes the one side that's talking to you and really grouchy is really just responding to dysfunction that's happening on the other side. So it really depends. And this is why you really need your healthcare provider to give you a little bit more direction as to which muscles in particular or which side you should be working on, okay? Because that pelvis is complex. We're gonna come onto our sides here. We're gonna place that ball right underneath that glute med, okay? And we're gonna come over to put just enough pressure onto that muscle, okay? So from here, you might wanna roll around until it gets to like a really sort of a strong, like almost like a tenderness. And we're gonna do some deep breathing. So think of letting that muscle melt over the ball as you inhale and then exhaling to think of it shrinking back up. So again, big inhale, lengthen over the ball, send your breath to where it's uncomfortable, and then exhaling to bring that breath back into you. Okay, so I know it sounds weird, but we really just want to bring some focus into that area. So we're going to hang out here for maybe like a minute total, right? Just trying to release those muscles. I do find that when there's pelvic dysfunction that the glute med is also affected because there can be a lot of weakness problematic weakness in the abductors in the hip. So that's why we're trying to make sure that everyone is working the way that they should. So one more big breath in and then exhaling. If you need to move the ball, by all means, you can move the ball a little bit further back if you feel like that's where your tenderness is. So we never ever want to feel any nervy pain. We never want to feel any sort of like zinging or anything like that. If that's the case, then back off or change your massage ball, right? It shouldn't be so noxious that you can't relax into it. And that's why I like a nice, soft, squishy ball, right? Because you want to be able to relax. Because if it's too painful, you're going to do the opposite. You're going to be contracting against it. And we don't want to bring in any more tension when there's already likely quite a bit, okay? So from here, we're going to move the ball into the piriformis region, and we're going to grab our strap. So let's start off with the strap. If you have a yoga strap and it's just got a loop, you're going to pop that onto your foot. If you have the bed sheet or if you have a band, you may want to try this trick. We're going to place the band on the bottom of the foot. We're going to cross it in the front, like a stirrup here, around the back again, and then back to the front. So it's crisscrossed in the front one time and in the back one time, okay? So we're gonna grab our ball and we're gonna place it right under the piriformis. If you don't know where that is, you're going to find your hip bone, the side one here. Some people call this your hip bone or this your hip bone, but we're looking for this one here. And we're going to go just behind it, okay? So almost like where your back pocket is. So if I roll over, let's do this a little awkwardly. If I roll over, piriformis is between my sacrum and my hip bone, but it's closer to my hip bone. So there's a little bit of a dip here right behind my hip bone, okay? So that's kind of the spot that we're trying to get to. So let's see if I come back. Right there. Okay, so again, it's almost like that butt pocket. There you go. Okay, so from here, we're going to take the leg and support it with the strap. So your leg doesn't have to be straight, but just somewhat extended up towards the ceiling. And we're going to allow that leg to come out sideways and then back in again, trying to create changes in pressure. Right, we're going to inhale, allow the muscle to melt over the ball, allow that ball to go a little bit deeper into the muscle, and then back in. If you find this too challenging for your hip and this angle is not comfortable for you, you can keep the foot down on the floor and just open out sideways. So try it both ways. You may find that keeping the foot down is actually more effective for you. But I would also encourage you to try it with the leg up as well, because you are going to get a different angle this way. Okay, so coming back out one more time. Nice big breath in. And then exhaling to come back. Okay, we're going to move the ball now closer to the SI joint. We're going to try and get those glute muscles just that live right alongside the sacrum here. So we're just going from here. So we're going to find, let's say, the sacrum, which is right in the center, and we're going to come off to the side. So it's a little bit higher than where we were and a little bit closer to the middle than where we were, right? So if we, you think of like those back dimples that some people have, we're just below that level, closer to the, I guess the upper part of the back, or closer to your head, I should say, right? So from here, same thing, you can come sideways and then back to center and then out again and then back to center. If you find this really unstable, you can let the other leg down. But you may not have that amount of flexibility. So in which case you might have to keep it up. It's entirely up to you what works best and what feels the most effective. Okay. So releasing up through here can be a little bit uncomfortable, but as I said, if you feel like you need a softer ball, then definitely go and get something that's not quite as firm. Or if you have something firm and you don't have anything else, place a towel over it or put it in a thick sock, and that'll hopefully add a layer of cushioning over the ball, like a tennis ball, right? So, put it into a tube sock and then tie it up, or put it in, double it up, and, wrap it back around over again to get some extra padding. Okay, so after we've done that, we're going to come up into sitting. Let me take this guy off. And we're going to try and get into our hamstrings now. Okay, so when we come and feel our sit bones, we can often get a little bit of tension in the upper part of the hamstring that's trying to help stabilize your pelvis, or that one side of the pelvis at least. So we're going to take the ball and we're going to place it just underneath your thigh, but really close to your sit bone. And sometimes it just takes a couple of trial and error moments to figure out where you want that ball exactly. So for you, it may actually be like further down the leg where you feel like it's a bit tight, or it could be up closer. It could be closer to the inner part of your thigh or the outer part of your thigh. But oftentimes it's usually, I find, right close to that sit bone, right? So you can bring it a little bit closer this way. So if we look at our pelvis, these are our sit bones here, and the hamstrings often can be quite tight right along the underside here and then into the thigh bone. So you can play around, see what works best for you, especially if that hamstring is feeling a little grouchy. Okay, so you can roll it, pause in one position. Let's take some deep breaths here. So nice big inhale, down into your belly, down into your pelvic floor, and then just like a natural exhale here. If you feel like you want a deeper stretch, you're more than welcome to sit forward on your forearms, resting your elbows on your knees, and take a nice big belly breath here. Down into your tummy, down into your pelvic floor, and release gently. So we don't want to force the exhale. And again, big inhale, down into your pelvic floor, and then exhale. So you can do a few of those if you feel like you need more of that, or you can move the ball to another spot if you have more than one area that's tight. Okay, but for now we're going to move on to releasing the inner thighs. If you have a thick book or a yoga block, you're going to get that. So a thick hardcover book is great. It doesn't have to be super thick. It can, even something as thin as like 3/4 of an inch or something like that, or 1/2 inch is fine. We just have to have some type of backing for the massage ball to do its job. So if you're lying on your side, we're doing this leg, you're going to have the book or the yoga block in between your thighs, and then we're going to sandwich the ball in between the block and the thigh muscle. Okay, so you may actually find it advantageous to have a thinner backing for your massage ball, because if your tension is right up against, let's say, your pubic bone where the adductor starts, the block can be a little chunky. So, it doesn't have to be this thick. It doesn't have to be thin. Play around with a couple of different thicknesses. But once you're there, you're going to sort of find the part that's talking to you. You're going to find that grouchy part. You know, you might want to stay there. You might want to do a little bit of kneading with the muscle, kneading of the muscle with the ball. And then just take some deep breaths and try to melt over the ball, right? So again, nice big inhale, thinking of letting the muscle relax if you can. If you want to add a little bit of longer, oops, am I hitting something? Oh no. So if you want to, maybe letting that leg down, if it helps to relax the leg, that's perfectly fine, right? So nice big inhale into the ball, into your belly, and let it go. So you may find you have a few tight spots along the adductors. And the reason being is the adductor muscles help anchor the pelvis down. So remember those wagon wheels that we talked about? Those adductors are very much like a plumb. They act like, not like a plumb line has that function, but it's like a plumb line, right? It goes, if they're supposed to be pulling straight down like an anchor, right? So if the pelvis is twisted, or if the wagon wheel is turned, then that adductor is going to try and help by recentering and tightening up, and pull down towards the ground. Okay, so we've done all of that loosening now. Let's try and get a little bit of movement back into the joint, right? So we've freed up the tight muscles. Let's see if we can restore that natural wagon wheel motion in the pelvis. Okay, so here we're going to go back to using our yoga block, or if you have a thick book, that's great too, right? So we're going to come onto hands and knees. I'm going to go this way because it was this leg that I was doing. We're going to place the block underneath the one knee. Oops. Here, and we're just going to rock back. Okay, so what this is doing is it's creating a little bit of space. It's lengthening the back here in that piriformis that can often be so tight. We're doing this nice deep hinging movement here, thinking of allowing that thigh bone to go really deep into the socket, and that's going to help with changing the angle of alignment in that big wagon wheel. Right? So we never want that wagon wheel to be snug up against the sacrum. Like, we don't want those two butterfly wings to be wide open. We want to make sure that they're sitting where they should be. And I'm getting a little bit too technical here. But again, just trying to make sure that we do allow the pelvis to move the way it should. So I'm going to think of allowing my pelvic bone here, this big wagon wheel here, to open up in the back away from my sacrum. Okay, so we're again restoring a little bit of movement as we go back with every rock. Okay, so after we've done that, if you feel like you need to do the other side for balance, by all means, you're more than welcome to do that. But we're going to go into some diagonal hinges. Okay, so the block is away. And we're going to send the hips back on a diagonal line. Okay, so again, encouraging the glutes to be long and release, right? So again, allowing this thigh bone now to come away from the socket. So it's almost like the ball is kind of exposing itself in the backside, right? Allowing the glute to lengthen, and then encouraging proper mechanics in that hip. Okay, so after we've done that, this is where things get a little bit trickier, because at this point, I'm going to hope that you've spoken to a healthcare provider and you understand, if you do have a stuck sacrum, or sorry, a stuck SI joint, you understand which way you're a little bit stuck. Okay, so I can't do this for you. You're going to have to see a healthcare provider just to make sure you understand where you are. So if I have told you that you're stuck forward, or you're sitting in a little bit more of a forward position, we're going to try and get you to come back. Okay, so what we want to do is encourage this thigh, or this, if this is the affected side, to move backward in space, because we don't want to be here anymore, right? We want to get the whole bone to move back in context of a stable sacrum. Okay, so one way to do that is getting this leg up onto a high surface. So if you've got a dining chair, you're going to pop, if I'm working the right side, that leg up, and we're going to reach forward towards the floor. Okay, a common mistake that people make is that they have the leg too open to the side like this. We want to be somewhat straight and true to the angle of, I guess, where the toes are pointing, and then reaching down that way. Okay, so while we're down here, we're taking a nice big breath in and then exhaling. And as you exhale, try to envision that wagon wheel, that hip moving backwards in space, freeing up the pelvic floor and anything else that might be holding it tight against the sacrum. Okay, so remember, the big bone has to move along a stable sacrum, right? So this is my stable leg. We're gonna come down, nice big inhale, exhale, reach a little deeper, right? You may feel a big stretch in your hamstring. That's perfectly fine. That's why we try to release these muscles too. A nice big inhale, and then exhale. Let it go. Relax your pelvic floor. Relax underneath the sit bone. Let's do one more big breath. And then exhaling. So again, that's if you've been told that your pelvic bone here on the one side is sitting a little bit forward. If you're in the opposite situation and your healthcare provider has told you that it's sitting a little bit back and we want to encourage it to come forward on a stable sacrum, then you're going to grab a towel if you have hardwood floors or like laminate floors. If you have carpeting, maybe like a nice thick plastic bag is great. You're going to put that over your foot so that it slides on the carpet. Certainly, I want you to stay safe. So if you've got a plastic bag on your foot, please don't slip and fall. We're going to fold up the towel just so it's big enough to fit under your foot or just the ball of the foot. So again, if I'm doing this leg, right, and if I'm stuck backwards, that wagon wheel is stuck backwards, I'm going to encourage it to come back forwards by doing a sliding back lunge. So watch, I'm going to hold on to something stable. At home, this is perfect to do at like a windowsill or a kitchen counter. So if you've got your counters here, right, hopefully there's a little bit of room between the countertop and the actual cabinets. Okay, so you're going to have hands on top, or in my case, I'm just holding this here. We're going to bring this leg back. We're sliding that knee, or sliding that foot back, thinking of that knee going straight down towards the floor. Now, as I do that, watch what's happening. My pelvis is naturally coming forward, or it wants to. But there are a lot of ways to do this wrong. So we're going to walk through that. Okay, we're going to go to the bottom or whatever's comfortable and then come back up. And again, sliding that leg back, we're going to think of winding it forward. You're going to do that a few times, but before you do that, let's make sure that you're doing it correctly. So common mistakes that I see: people arch the back, they stretch the front leg by keeping it straight, and then you're not really moving your SI joint at all. You're just overstretching the ball and socket in the front, and we don't really want that. So ideally, you're going to keep your pelvis upright. We're going to think of sending the knee down towards the floor, right? We don't want that pelvis to spill forward. We don't want the back to arch. It's not a back exercise. It's not a pelvis sort of, it's not like a whole pelvis tipping, right? We don't want that anterior tilt, as you may have heard about. So we're going to make sure that the pelvis is upright in the front, that knee is coming down, and we're lengthening through to the back and back up again. All right, so you see the difference between this and, this, right? Those are different things. My whole pelvis is coming forward, okay? No, we want to make sure that the pelvis is level here when you're coming straight back, okay? And then back up. Okay, if you need to have your hand on your hip, just to make sure that things are going the way you want them to, you're more than welcome to do that. So just be careful you're not feeling that happen in your hips and your pelvis. Okay, so how many reps? Usually about 3 to 5, and then do a quick check and see how things feel. Hopefully the symptoms will have improved after that. Once you've gotten your pelvis moving again, once you've got your SI joint moving again, we're going to want to make sure that we keep it sitting and moving the way we want to. So that's going to require some strengthening. So I'll be making another video about some of the common strengthening exercises. Talk too much. I'm out of breath. But make sure you watch the other video to get some quick ideas on what type of strengthening exercises that I like to prescribe my clients when I'm trying to help them keep their pelvises moving symmetrically. If you have tension in the front part of your hip, like your TFL here, like that front hip flexor, or your quad, and that's also throwing your hip off, you're probably going to want to do a little bit of release there as well. So again, you're going to come onto your side, place that ball kind of in that front kind of hip pocket area, and then come over. Same idea as your glute med, but you're now just a little bit more on your front. So big breath in. And then exhaling. Maybe you're going to hang out here for about 10 breaths. Feel whatever works best for you, because it's really hard to know without seeing you, myself, or without you having seen your own healthcare provider. It's hard to know which muscle it is that is involved or causing some asymmetries in your pelvis. Okay, so once you've released your TFL, you may also find it helpful to release your quads, right? So coming onto your front, I'm going to switch over because it's just easier. You're going to come onto your front, and you're going to allow that ball to sit right underneath any sore spots under your quads. So if you want to, you can bring one leg up and then let the knee down. You can do a few movements like that. That might be helpful for you. You might want to grab your strap, loop it around your ankle, and hold it there, right? So just hold it up in a nice sort of sustained stretch. That's perfectly fine. 10 deep breaths, and try again to relax the muscles over the ball to let them go, right? So you also may find you have to move the ball to another spot. So go ahead and do that. Big breath in, and then exhaling to relax, right? So try them both. Try a sustained stretch or, pressure point, or you can also try bending and straightening the knee here.